The median price of Fort Lauderdale condos and townhomes is now up to $488,750. That is up from $450,000 in June of 2023. My name is Casey Brindle, your Fort Lauderdale Realtor. If you're considering buying or selling real estate in Fort Lauderdale, first thing to do, go ahead and click that button below that says book a call with me. We'll have a quick 30-minute no obligation phone call. I always like to meet people who are watching my videos, so don't be shy. Go ahead, click away, book a call.
All right, kids, you ready? Median sold price. Condos and townhomes in Fort Lauderdale. Here we go, down 14% month over month. Look, it's getting rocky in condos and townhomes. I don't want to separate out condo sales from townhome sales. There is a dichotomy. If you're interested in buying either product, you're going to have to contact me so we can get into the weeds, because the market's getting really segmented. And I just use this as an overall, but we're going to have to look at the area that you're looking at and the property type that you're looking at to really get a firmer handle on this. But look, here's what I want to say today. Median price, $488,000. Let's use this line of $500,000. Okay? Do you know what all these little peaks represent? These peaks represent sellers who are now trapped. Let's assume that they paid the median price and they have to sell at the median price. So they paid $575,000. But if they want to sell today, they can only get $488,000. That's a loss, right? So the further that we go down in median pricing, the more that all of these people become trapped. So that is one thing. While I don't really like to look at median pricing, I don't like to put a whole lot of stock in it, it does give you an overall gauge in, well, how many people may want to sell, but right now just aren't going to because they're going to have to sell at a loss. Now, there are a lot of cash purchases in Fort Lauderdale. So what that likely means is there's a lot of sellers that are just going to say, nah, don't even put the inventory on the market. That's going to lead to less supply. There are all the reasons that, I casually look at median price, but I don't put a whole lot of stock in it. All right, let's look at something that I do put a lot of stock in. Total number of condos and townhomes that sold in Fort Lauderdale last month. Down 6.2% month over month. Not terrible. Let's scroll back a year. From 185 down to 152. That's what, about 20%, 21% year over year reduction. That's significant. That's sizable. Look, here's what I want to say to this. The condo and townhome market is becoming more challenging for sellers. If you're thinking about selling, that's the blunt conversation that we're going to have. Obviously, the fewer sales that we have, the bigger problem it's going to become for condo and townhome sellers. There's a lot of decisions to be made right now based on assessments, based on what your idea was and your hold period was. But look, I was transacting back here, right? When we were back around 200 sales, 145 sales, I'll be honest, I didn't think 2019 was a bad market. Now, mind you, I was in the market transacting in 2008. I can tell you what a bad market looks like. So while we're getting close to the lows on the 5-year chart, and I do think that this is concerning, it isn't a horrible market for sellers, but we're not here, all right? We were at 400 sales. This, whatever I threw up on the market, just sold. We're not there. So I don't want to give you any kind of disillusions. Buyers, is this good news for you? If you said yes, gold star. Fewer sales that are happening, the more wiggle room you have in terms of throwing an offer out there, because sellers aren't seeing a whole lot of offers. Not a lot of properties changing hands. All right, so that's how to use that. All right, before we go on here, if you are thinking of either buying or selling a property, go ahead and click the book a call link below. It's going to set up a 30-minute phone call between you and I where you can tell me whether you're interested in buying, whether you're interested in selling, or whether you just want to talk about the real estate market. I'm fine with any of the above, and it doesn't matter whether you're thinking of buying, selling in a week or a year. It's honestly easier to talk to me the more lead time that I have. It's hard if I come in the 7th inning of a 9-inning game. A lot easier if you start the conversation earlier. So go ahead and click that link. That will let me know you're raising your hand. You want to talk to me. Even better though, my phone number is all over this webpage. Just pick up the phone and call me. I think I'm fun to talk to. We'll see if you agree or not, but I think I am. All right. Average list to sales price, 95.3%. What does this mean? So this is the price properties are selling at relative to their original list price versus their final sale price. So if I put something on the market at $100,000, it's going to sell at $95,000 of that $100,000 statistically. There are two ways that this could happen. First, through straight price negotiation. I am really having trouble with that word today. Negotiation. So you put your property up at $100,000, somebody offered you $95,000, you decided to take it. That's how that number shows up there. Or it shows up as you listed at $100,000, you reduced your price down to $95,000, somebody offered you the $95,000, you accepted it. So two ways that can show up. Look, this is why I think this is healthy. This is unhealthy, right? This just means a seller came up with a random price, threw it on the market, people had no choice and just paid it. Down here, this means buyers and sellers are working together to try to find a value that makes sense for both of them. So there is price negotiation and price discovery going on. So I do like it when we're down here. Of course, if you're a seller, you want it up here. If you're a buyer, you want it down here. But I do just think this signifies health. I do like to look at this just to kind of give you an overall gauge on the market. All right, median days on market. One moment. Still really early in the morning. Sun's just barely up. Gotta have some caffeine before we continue here. All right, median days, 59. So, this does not take into account the number of days that it takes to close or your contract time. So, there's the number of days that you were actually on market and actively listed. If somebody came in and said, yeah, I need 30 or 45 days to close, you have to add 30 or 45 days on to this close to 60 days, let's call it. That's going to be the actual time from you putting your house on the market till you get money in your bank account. Who are rising days on the market better for, buyers or sellers? If you said sellers, you're just wrong. Buyers. Better for you the higher days on market. Why? Well, easy. I deal with sellers all the time, I can tell you. Around day 45 to day 60, sellers get antsy. Especially if they haven't seen an offer yet. If we're up here with a higher number of days on market, that sellers are seeing fewer offers. What does that mean? That means if I'm representing a buyer and you have a property listed, I'm going to come in lower on price than you want me to. Sorry, but hey. My wife hates it, but I'm comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. I like to negotiate. I like to fight on price. So it's good if I'm representing you as a seller. It's good if I'm representing you as a buyer. If you have a weak agent, I want to feast. Look, we're moving more into a buyer's market on condos and townhomes. And if anybody tells you different, they're full of it and they're just not looking at statistics. It is becoming more challenging. We're going to go through some of those reasons towards the end of the video. Does it mean it's bad to buy a condo or a townhome? Hell no. Does it mean you need to be more selective? Absolutely. If you're a seller, do you need to paint a different picture than you did in the past? Absolutely. I got to know what's going on with assessments, what's going on with budgets. And instead of using that as a negative, you need to use that as a positive. I'll explain later. But anyways, for now, let's stay on point here. Days on market are rising, getting tougher to sell a condo or a townhome. Now, let's also not kid ourselves. I'm doing this in July. Is it easier to sell a condo, townhome in Fort Lauderdale when the weather gets colder everywhere else in the U.S.? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's hard in the summer. Nobody's thinking about buying a condo or a townhome in Fort Lauderdale when it's 100 degrees in New Jersey, 100 degrees in New York, 110 in Texas. California's got wildfires everywhere. So look, that's how to use that. Median price per square foot in Fort Lauderdale. All right, median price per square foot, condos and townhomes in Fort Lauderdale. Are you surprised to see this still going up? Right? Given all the other data that we had, median prices are down. Total sales are down. How can this be, Casey? Oh boy, let's hit the rewind button. If you've watched any of my other videos, here we go. The good stuff is selling. The unique products are selling. The beat up old junk, not selling. Buyers want properties in turnkey conditions. You're going to have renovated bathrooms, renovated kitchen. If you're not willing to do that, it's going to be hard to sell your property, and you're going to sell it for less than you wanted to because there's fewer buyers looking for something that's not already done. I say this again and again and again. I deal with buyers all the time. I can tell you what they tell me, and I can show you the data that says, okay, you don't want to believe me? Fine. Explain this to me. How can sold prices be down, number of properties be down, but the price per square foot be up? How can that be happening, Casey? Because people want the good stuff and they'll pay for it. So if you have the good stuff, it still is not a bad time to sell. It's going to take a little longer to sell than before, but if you bought a good piece of property going in, well located, or you renovated a property and it's in nice shape now, you're still going to do all right. All right, total dollar volume of condo and townhome sales in Fort Lauderdale. 106,000 plus. Excuse me, 106 million plus. Boy, 106,000 would be scary. Now look, we're down 11.5% month over month. Year over year, from 128 million down to 106 million. We're down around 15-20% year over year. Not great. Again, I want to flash back here to 2019, 2020. This wasn't a bad market, right? It wasn't. I was transacting. Properties were moving, I can tell you. Is it this kind of market? No. But it was pretty normalized. So I think a lot of the data that we're looking at, a lot of people still, man, I even talk to agents that somehow in bizarro world still think that we're here. We're just not. So look, is this a good sign? I mean, if we keep drifting down, that's going to get really concerning. But again, it wasn't a terrible market here. It's not a terrible market here, but it is more challenging. But aha, two sides of every coin. Challenging for sellers here, means opportunity for buyers also, right? Months of supply of inventory. All right, these are some rough numbers. Let's start off with some perspective here. 6 months of inventory. Nationally, that is what is said to be a neutral market, favoring neither buyers nor sellers. Above 6 months of supply, said to favor buyers. Below 6 months of supply, said to favor sellers. We cannot use this 6-month line on single-family homes in Fort Lauderdale, right? If you watch those videos also, we're down here towards 4 months. But 6 months of supply seems pretty balanced. If we look at the last 5 years, that seems pretty balanced for condos and townhomes. So I think that's fair to use here. So if we have 9.82 months of supply, we're favoring buyers. This is the one that is the holy guacamole number. 88.8% more inventory. If you're a seller, you have almost 90% more inventory to choose from right now than if you were searching for houses back here in June of 2023 when there was 5 months of inventory. Forget it if you were back here at, under 2 months. From 2 months up to almost 10 months. This is a dramatic change in inventory. So who is this good for? Buyers all the way across the board, man. Buyers. Now again, let's flash back. Is this terrible? Wasn't terrible back here. Wasn't like this, but it wasn't terrible. So what I want to say on this is, look, it is good to be a buyer of a condo or a townhome right now in terms of inventory. We can talk about interest rates. We can talk about the difficulty of financing in some condos and townhomes. We're going to talk about all this stuff in a second. But what I want you to take away when you're looking at this right now, if you're a buyer, you have a lot of choices right now. It's a pretty good time to go shopping. If you're a seller, it's a tougher time to list your property right now. Now, there are pockets everywhere. If you want to go looking at a townhome on the Barrier Island, that's a tighter market than what you're seeing here in terms of supply. So again, know what kind of product you're looking at. We have to have a more in-depth discussion, which is why I say use my videos as a guide, but you're going to have to reach out to me to get into the weeds on what you're really looking at. All right. If you already own a property in Fort Lauderdale and you either want to know what it's worth or if you're thinking about selling it, click the free home valuation button below. That is going to send me an email that says, this person is interested in selling. This is their property address. The computer is going to kick out a wildly inaccurate valuation to you. You and I are then going to have a discussion about what the actual value is. It's just an easy way for you to raise your hand and let me know that you're curious about value. You want to have a conversation with me. I'm the only one that sees it. I'm the only one that's going to call you. Nobody else. I don't have a team. I don't sell your data. Nothing like that. So go ahead and click that and let's have a conversation. Now, speaking conversation, let's get into my thoughts and predictions and my crystal ball on condos and townhomes. Now, if you've listened to me for a while, that crystal ball, I have smashed that many times and been totally wrong. So, these are just kind of my overarching thoughts. On condos and townhomes, I want to take things a different direction. I want to talk about assessments, and I want to talk about budgets and how and insurance, and how all these things are working together. Let's start with the first, assessments. I am hearing from sellers who tell me, Casey, that's it. I just got a notification of a $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 assessment. I got to get out of this condo. Sell it for me. No problem. Here's the rub for a buyer. A buyer looks at it and goes, Has there been a history of assessments? And I say, yeah, one right now for $100,000. And buyer goes, $100,000, I want nothing to do with this property. And they don't have an agent who's looking at two sides of a coin and thinking logically about it and seeing opportunity that I see, which is this. If I find you a condo and you like that condo and the seller is paying for all of these upgrades to do to a building, common areas, structural, you're going to walk into a newer building and the seller is going to pay for it. And you're going to have all this stuff in a year or two. The building's going to be up to code and structurally done and new stuff. And as a buyer, that scares you because the past owner paid an assessment. Man, look at what the assessments, if the assessment is for all of the structure and roof and all these things that aren't going to come up again for another 20 or 30 years, I see opportunity. I see, look, this may be a good building to buy into because the seller is going to pay for all this work to be done for me, and I'm walking into something substantially sound. So I do think there's opportunity in a lot of this stuff where sellers are just going to have to sell. These inspection reports are going to come out more and more as we get towards January. A lot of them, a lot of condos, they got ahead of it. They've already got a lot of this squared away. So you really need to ask some questions. Don't just discount a condo because it has a past assessment or an assessment pending. Just get the seller to pay for it. Think about it a different way. I have this conversation with people all the time. I like having this conversation again. I'm comfortable with uncomfortable. Let's be pragmatic. Let's look at it a little bit differently. Now, associations have created some of their own mess in terms of insurance because what happened is they wanted to keep the budget level. So they took an insurance policy with a high deductible without thinking, hey, what is this? What are the ramifications of us doing this? Here's one of the ramifications. Mortgage lenders don't want to underwrite and do loans inside of your building with a high deductible. So they're cutting back and saying, all right, we'll finance a buyer coming in, but they need to put 25, 30% down in order for us as a bank to be interested in that. So that's the flip side of that coin that I don't think a lot of associations, they didn't really think through it. And they weren't talking to a lot of people in real estate. And I get why they did it. Trying to keep a budget level and increasing a deductible was a way to do it, but there were ramifications to it. So anyways, that's those are a couple of my thoughts on the condo market. Look, if you're watching this video and you find any of this stuff interesting, don't be shy to reach out to me. I have transacted over $100 million in real estate with people just like you who either in the past, they read my blog. I wasn't even on YouTube for a number of years. And now the people watching that contact me. So you will not be alone. Promise I've done this a ton in the past. So I thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart for watching these videos. And the reason I thank you so much is because this is how I built my business. I kind of market it a different way. I'm more about relationships and people knowing me before they even call me, and it makes my life infinitely easier. So please, my phone number is everywhere. Don't be shy. Reach out to me. Let's talk. That's what I got for you now. I'll talk to you guys next month.